Hello again. I'll be talking about work-related conditions associated with risky drinking among Australian workers and how those compare to other factors like age and health status. Alcohol consumption is problematic for workers because it can impact productivity and safety, particularly if an individual is presenting to work intoxicated or hungover. Likewise, it can impact workers' health and well-being. One third of employed Australians are drinking alcohol at levels that put their health at risk. This means that workplaces are an environment where interventions can be implemented to encourage healthier patterns of alcohol consumption. We know that occupational stress can lead to negative health behaviors and negative health outcomes. There has been some research showing occupational stress is a driver of high risk alcohol consumption and substance use in general, but we're not really sure how strong its association with high risk alcohol consumption is, particularly compared to other factors like socio-demographic, health, and behavioral factors. Frone et al. Developed two models for workers' substance use involvement. I've combined the two to create a more easy to digest model. This model suggests that there are factors both external and internal to the workplace that influence workers' alcohol consumption. Factors external to the workplace encompass aspects such as an individual's age, sex, socioeconomic status, income, and other substance use habits. Factors internal to the workplace or occupational stresses can also play a role in an individual's alcohol consumption. These include two distinct domains: workplace structural demands and psychosocial work stresses. Workplace structural demands refer to objective, externally imposed features of the work environment, such as a person's work hours, their schedules, and physical working conditions. Psychosocial work stresses refer to subjective perceived stresses associated with work, which can include work satisfaction, job demands, job autonomy, job security, etc. In the present study, we sought to explore the relationships between occupational factors and high-risk alcohol consumption among employed Australians. We also wanted to examine whether these occupational predictors explained any additional variance in alcohol consumption beyond what is accounted for by established socio-demographic and health-related variables. We analysed data from 23 waves of the Household Income and Labour Dynamics in Australia survey, which is a very large longitudinal data set. Our analysis included more than 27,000 employed individuals who took part in the survey. We examined three outcome variables, all defined according to the National Health and Medical Research Council's alcohol guidelines. First, there was weekly high-risk alcohol consumption, which was defined as consuming more than 10 standard drinks in a week. Second, there was single occasion high-risk alcohol consumption, which was defined as consuming more than 4 standard drinks in a day. Third, there was any high-risk alcohol consumption, which was defined as either being a weekly or single occasion high-risk drinker. We conducted generalized linear mixed models for the three outcome measures. We specified random intercepts to account for repeated measures across participants and random slopes to account for individual differences in change across time. So what did we find? We found that a number of occupational factors were associated with high-risk alcohol consumption. Regarding the workplace structural demands variables, shift workers were no more likely to engage in any high-risk alcohol consumption compared to individuals who worked a normal schedule. However, they were more likely to engage in high-risk single-occasion alcohol consumption, but less likely to engage in high-risk alcohol consumption across the week. It's often assumed that shift workers consume alcohol as a sleeping aid. However, the binge drinking pattern that we're seeing here is suggesting something else. It's likely that, given the nature of shift work, individuals who work shifts have fewer opportunities to consume alcohol at times when it is typically consumed. Therefore, it could be that shift workers are making up for their fewer opportunities to consume alcohol by drinking more on the days that they are able to drink. When it comes to work commitment, what we're seeing here is that people who work full-time or more hours are exhibiting increased odds of engaging in any high-risk alcohol consumption compared to those who work part-time. When looking at the psychosocial work stress variables, we see that individuals who prefer to work more hours or even about the same hours are associated with high-risk alcohol consumption. This is interesting because the individuals who were working more hours were also more likely to engage in high risk alcohol consumption. So both desiring to work more hours and actually working more hours is associated with high risk drinking. When looking at the external factors in the phone model, we're observing that while those occupational factors do matter, sociodemographic and health-related factors were much more powerful predictors of high-risk alcohol consumption, as evidenced by the larger odds ratios. I'd like to note that these aren't all the variables incorporated into our model, but rather just some of the more important ones. Females were associated with an 89% reduction in the odds of any high risk alcohol consumption compared to males. Although being aged 15 to 24 was associated with reduced odds of weekly high risk alcohol consumption, it was associated with a 2.5 times increase in the odds of any high risk alcohol consumption, and most alarmingly, a 16 times increase in the odds of single occasion high risk alcohol consumption. Consequently, young people are a group that workplaces need to prioritize. Never being partnered was a robust predictor of high risk alcohol consumption, as was possessing only a Year 12 qualification. Smoking was associated with a threefold increase in the odds of high risk alcohol consumption. So, while work related stress may play a role in explaining the variance in risky alcohol use, it is not the most important factor. So I've thrown a lot of numbers at you, and this can be quite overwhelming. So I just want to highlight the most important variables that decision makers may want to take away from my presentation. The first would be smoking, which was quite robustly associated with high risk drinking. Since smoking and high risk drinking co occur, smokers are a population in the workforce that requires additional targeting. The second is young people who are particularly prone to single occasion high risk drinking. This population may benefit from interventions raising awareness about the harms of binge drinking. Finally, there is employment involving full time or extended hours. Workers must be informed about the cumulative stress resulting from excessive working hours and the importance of maintaining a work life balance. Our study indicates that workplaces should not neglect occupational factors. However, they must adopt a broader focus that includes socio-demographic, behavioral, and health factors. Workplace interventions need to educate shift workers about the negative impacts of binge drinking and that alcohol is not an effective sleeping aid. Workplaces need to address excessive work hours, trying to encourage individuals to not take up additional shifts, or at least make workers more aware of the harms of overwork and encouraging a better work life balance. Thank you very much for listening.